So right now, I'm going to show you how to create a greeting card inside of Photoshop. We're going to look at different types of folds, so different ways of designing these. And we're going to go through the whole process, and it's going to be broken into two parts. The first part is I'm going to show you how to set up the template and how to know which ways are up and which ways are down, depending on the type of fold. I'm going to provide you that template so you can use it over and over again. And then I'm also going to show you how to use that template and design a greeting card. Right now, it's Christmas time, so I'm going to make a Christmas card, but this could be for, Halloween, Thanksgiving, birthdays, whatever you want to use it for. Let's jump in. So we need to create a template that we can easily follow. I've grabbed a piece of 8.5 by 11 office paper. I'm going to fold it into quarters. We're going to do 3 different styles. This one here is going to be a horizontal side fold. Let's do another one where we do a tent fold, also horizontal. All right, I want another one. I want to go tall, so we're going to go portrait, and it's going to be a standard side fold. Now what we do is we write on each one of these panels, and this is going to let us know the orientation and location of each one of these panels for the 3 different layouts. We can see what they're going to look like folded up. And this is what the final product's going to look like. Let's use this and build it out right now. Let us set up our brand new document. And by the way, I'm going to give this to you so you'll be able to download it. So whether we're here inside the welcome screen, or you can click the PS to go into Photoshop, either way, we're going to choose File, New. And this is going to bring up the new document interface. Let's go under Print. And we're going to grab the letter, which is 8.5 by 11. Now, of course, you can change this to any size you want. But the one that we are using is 8.5 11 at 300 pixels per inch, which is print resolution. Now, we can do this in portrait, or we can do it in landscape mode. I'm going to choose landscape, which is going to be wide. And then we're just going to choose create. All right, this is going to be our layout. What we want to do now is we want to divide this into quarters. And we can automatically do that using guides. Let's choose View, Guides, and then we're going to choose New Guide Layout. So what we want to do is we want to find the center and divide this into quarters. So what we're going to do is under Columns, we're going to choose 2. Under Rows, we're going to choose 2. Get rid of any gutter, height, margin, make sure that is off. And then you want to turn on Clear Existing Guides. Okay. So now we've divided this into quarters. Now there's another thing. If your printer doesn't print right up to the edge, what we're going to do is we're going to create a bleed. And this will enable us to trim off those edges. And then we have the print is going to cover the whole area, and we're not going to have a little white box around it. So let's do that now. So we're going to choose View, Guides, New Guide Layout. So we're going to turn off Clear Existing Guides because we don't want to lose our quarters we've created. We're going to hide columns and rows. So we're going to turn on the margin, and we want to set a bleed of 1/8 of an inch all the way through. So let's start with the top. And we're going to do 0.125 IN for inches. Then when we click, it's going to apply that at the top. And we want to do this all around. So this is going to give us 1/8 of an inch bleed, which is industry standard for a bleed. And notice we can see around there, this is where we're going to trim it. So let's click OK. So what we want to do when we apply our images, we want to go into the bleed area. So that way when we trim it, we're going to have a nice colored edge instead of that white outline. But make sure nothing important goes into that bleed area. What we could even do if we want to help ourselves with this, we could create some crop marks. In fact, why don't we create a new layer, and I'm going to call this crop marks. And here's a really easy way I have of creating these. I'm going to grab the line tool, change it to pixels and set it to 1 pixel. And let's give it a gray color. So we're going to click on the foreground color and we're going to make it medium gray. Now all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold down the shift key and click. That will constrain it. And now I'm just going to add these crop marks around the image. And notice it's just going to snap to that guide. Makes it super easy. Okay, let's trim these crop marks. Now remember, 1/8 of an inch is the industry standard for printing. However, check with your printer and see what your crop is, because in some cases, like a Kinko's or something, it might be even more. Anyway, let's get rid of this. We're going to choose the view, and then under view, we're going to choose the show, and then we're going to hide the guides for a second. Okay, we can see these crop marks. We don't need the crop marks to cover that much of the page. So let's just grab the rectangular marquee tool. Now I'm just going to click and drag corner to corner. Just go slightly inside. And we're just going to hit the delete key. And now you'll see we've got the nice crop marks now are not going to appear inside our printed area. Now we can turn those guys back on the same way. Or we can use the keyboard shortcut, which is Command semicolon, and that would be Control semicolon on the Mac. So we're going to start with the landscape side fold. We're going to grab the rectangle tool, and we can be in pixels. It doesn't really matter what we're using. What I want to do though is I'm going to lock off the crop marks, so we can't change that by accident. And we're going to create a new layer, and we're going to call this one front. All right, now let's create something that fits in here nicely. Notice that will snap. Now I'm going to go in here. I'm going to include the crop mark area because I want everything in here. And now what I'm going to do is on top of here, I'm going to type up so we know this is the way that we're working with the up. Let me make it larger. Great. What I want to do now is I want to convert these to a smart object. So I'm going to choose these layers here. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to choose Convert to Smart Object. And this is going to be the front. Now, we want to duplicate this, but very important. Don't hit Control J or Command J because that will create an instance of the same smart object. We want an independent smart object, meaning that I can change the content of it separately. So I'm going to right click, and then this is where we're going to use new smart object via copy. So this is going to create a brand new smart object. Let me just hit this shift key and slide this off to the side. And now we're going to call this one the back. Okay, so now we've got the two of these. Now I want to do it again. I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to new smart object via copy. And I'm going to drag this up. Hold the shift key to constrain it. Now, the rest of this is going to go upside down. So let's hit Control T or Command T, and I'm going to drag this around. And now we have the inside message. The cool thing about working with a smart object is when I double click to open the contents, it's going to be the right way up. So we're always going to be designing the right way up no matter which panel we're on, but it's going to map nicely on here. So we need to do one more. Let's right click. We're going to do new smart object via copy, drag this out, and we're just going to call this inside. So this is going to be the opposite panel inside. All right, so we've created the 4 panels. We can replace these with content at any time. We're ready to design this particular card. So let me select all of these. So we're going to click, hold the shift key, And now we're going to hit Control G. And it's going to put it into a group. And we're going to call this landscape side. Because this is going to have a side fold on it. Now, the last thing we need to do is we do need to know what these panels are. Go to the top layer. We're going to grab the type tool. Okay, so here we've labeled the panels. I'm just going to select those, Control G, and we'll just call that labels. And then, of course, at any time we can hide these. All right, so now I'm going to go through this process again and create the portrait card. Just go through the same steps. I'll show you the very first panel, but then after that, I'm just going to give you the result so you don't have to watch that. So let's hide this. Grab our rectangular selection tool. And then we're going to make a rectangular selection. This time I'll use a slightly different shade of gray so there's no confusion. And I'm going to fill it. It's going to be a little tricky. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to hit Control T. And I'm going to rotate this. And you'll see why in a second. So this is going to be the panel that we're going to design onto. Okay, and then I'm just going to type in up on this one. Great, now we're going to convert this to a smart object. Select both of these, right click, convert to smart object. Now the reason I did it that way is because now I can rotate this, hold down the Shift key to constrain it, and this is going to be our front. So let's just type front. But the cool thing is, because it's a smart object, if I double click it, now it's going to be up. As I said before, we're always designing up. So that's going to be our front. Now, let's duplicate it again. This is going to be our back. New smart object via copy. So let's drag this out. It'll snap into position. Control T or Command T for free transform. Now we're going to drag around, hold the Shift T to constrain it. And now this is going to be the inside message. And then you get it. We're going to do it one more time. Drag it up here. Snap it into position. And this is going to be inside. Okay, so now we've got the portrait and the landscape. So if we want to see the landscape one, we can show it here. If we want to see the portrait, we can do it here. Let's save the file, but we're going to save it as a template. Choose File, Save As. So I'm going to save this as a greeting card template, but here's the thing we're going to do. Instead of PSD, we're going to call it a PSDT. Add a T to the end for template. And then we hit save. So here's the thing. Once this has been a template file, you can't choose File Save. When you do, it's going to prompt you to add a new name. In this way, we're not going to accidentally override the template. Now you know how to create your template. Let's work on modifying the template. If you didn't create it and you just want to use it and you're starting from here, I have created 3 different layouts here. We've got the portrait, and these are the panels, front, back, inside, and inside message. And then I've given you the side for the landscape. And then I've created the landscape top, so it's kind of like more of a tent fold. So these are the 3 layouts that I've done. Let's create the landscape side is the one we're going to be working from. So hide the other ones and we're going to pop it open. To use this template, it's as simple as double clicking and designing each one of these panels. So why don't we start with the front panel, because that's the obvious one that we're going to be doing. We're going to double click. It's going to open the smart object here. Now all we need to do is replace this with the contents we want. Since it's around Christmas time, let's design a Christmas card. Okay, so what you're going to do now is you're just going to add your photo. So you're going to click on this little icon and we're going to choose Add from Device. And then you're just going to go and you're going to find the photo that you want to use for your card. And we're just going to place it in here. And if I hit Control S to save it, we go in here, notice it's going to replace it with the image that we want to use. Now make sure before you print it, you're going to hide these labels just by clicking here. But we want to show them right now for the guide. So let me go back in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to design a Christmas card. So I'm just going to hide this. Of course, you could use your own photo. In this case, I'm going to choose a free Adobe stock image. And we'll grab this family here. And let's make it a little larger. And we're just going to drag this out. Now, the nice thing about working with this template is it doesn't matter if this is bigger than the canvas, because it's only going to show that area inside of the smart object. If I hit Control S or Command S for save and we go here, we can see, oh, there's the front. Let's continue designing it, of course. So let's add some mistletoe. Now you may go into Adobe Stock here under Add Free Adobe Stock Images, and you might find some decorative elements you want to use. But let's go down here and we're going to scroll. We've got some nice decorative elements in here, plenty of them to use. Let's just do something simple so you can kind of see how this works. Let's grab this one here and we can click Add. Great. Let's resize it. Now, if the shape is not working the way you want, what you're going to do is hold down the Shift key, and now we can scale this disproportionately. Now we want to cut out the middle and show our family. So under the selection, let's grab the Object Selection tool, and I'm just going to go around the middle here, and that's going to select that area. I want to cut it out, so I'm going to create a mask. Hold down the Alt or the Option key, and click on the mask, and that will cut out the middle. Had I just applied the mask, it would create the inverse. Let me show you. If yours looks like that, just select the layer mask and hit Control I or Command I on Mac. And now we could take the family and maybe shrink them down a little bit. Control T or Command T. And I'm just going to do this from the center. So that's going to hold down the Alt or the Option key. And notice we can just drag this around and create that nice little look. Now you may want to add some text on here. Why don't we do that just for fun? And because it's around Christmas time, we're going to go for Christmas theme. We'll do Merry Christmas. And I'm going to drag that layer above, make sure we can see it. And right now we're using this Apple Chancellery. You might use a different font, whatever's going to work for you. In this case, let's change that font to a red. So I double clicked it to select it all. We're going to choose red. And then maybe we'll put a stroke around it. So select that and hit the effects. And then we're going to choose stroke. Let's make that a little bit smaller. Maybe you might want to change that to white. And it looks okay. I'm not loving that font, so maybe we can just double click and we can try a different font. As I click here, we can see what the font is going to look like. Unfortunately, this is covering us up a little bit. So if we use the taskbar, we can position the taskbar to the side, and now we can see better. Let's just do something more fun like this. And maybe we can put, a drop shadow on it. And by the way, you can drag on the document to position that drop shadow. All right, and if I hit Control S for save, notice what it's going to do is it's going to save that for us. All right, so maybe we want to do our message now. So here's a cool thing. We just go to the inside message, double click. It's going to open it. And notice it's the right way up. Now this may be closed or it may be open. Maybe I want to reuse this mistletoe. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to double click on the front. So that's open as well if it wasn't. And let's grab that mistletoe layer and I'm going to drag that into the other smart object. Hold down the Shift key, release it. Now it's in the middle. Perfect. Now notice we've got all this showing through. We might not need that mask. If you hold down the Shift key and click, you can hide that mask. And maybe we'll just put some type on top. And of course, you could leave room in here if you wanted to write a message or whatever, but I'm just going to hit Control S to save that. And if we look, notice now we've got that part of our card. Now the back, you might just want to leave blank. And if we want to do that, we could just double click on the back. Maybe we just want to make this white. So we'll just make a selection around the whole thing. And then we want to fill it with white. Just hit Control, Delete. Fills with the background color. And maybe you want to write a message there. So I'm just going to hit Control S to save it. And there's our back. All right, let's do our inside panel. Now, one of the things to be aware of is notice where it's cropping. So the inside panel here is going to be cropping on what's the left and the bottom. So just be aware of that because it's not necessarily always going to show that. So the crop is actually going to be trimmed on the left and the bottom here. So just be aware. We could drag this over if we wanted. And I'm just going to eyeball it. And this is literally where our crop is going to be. Let's add something else in here, decorative. Oh, that's nice. Maybe we'll put this little bit of mistletoe in there. So we're just going to choose Add. Great. I'm going to resize this. I'm just going to kind of drag it. Now remember, everything we're designing is the right way up. So this is how it's going to look. So I'm just going to pop it in here maybe. I'm going to hold down the Alt or the Option key and just drag out a copy of it. Hit Control T for free transform. And maybe we'll go this way. So we can kind of put that in the corner. Remember, it's going to crop on the left. Let's rotate this one a little bit. So I'm just Control Click, Control T. And we'll rotate a little bit. Keep it outside of that crop area so we don't trim it away. And then we've got that. So maybe I want to I could do plain white, or I could create some kind of a texture here. Let's see what we're going to get for a texture. I'm just typing in parchment texture. All right, lots of textures to work with here. So we grab something like that. That might look nice. Click Add. Let's make it a little bit bigger. Notice if I hold down the Alt key or the Option key, it's going to drag it from the center. That looks nice. And we're just going to drag it underneath. So we've got these showing. Excellent. You might want to put a little message on there. You don't have to, but you might. Let's select a new foreground color. Click on the foreground. And I want to use the green. So why don't we just click on the green, and that samples that green color. Click OK. Let's go to the top layer. And I'm just going to type in here. From Colin. And maybe I'm just going to kind of stagger that a little bit. I'm just hitting the space bar to do that. Then we're going to hit save. All right, let's go back to our card here. If you want to close all these other smart objects, just right click and then choose Close Others. If any of them are unsaved, it'll give you the option to save it. At this point here, we're going to hide the labels. And if we look at it, this is going to be our card. All right, if you're going to take this somewhere to be printed, you might need to save it out as a JPEG. This is the easiest way. Just choose File, Export, Save for Web. Now, under Equality, around about 75 is going to be fine. And you don't want to resize it, so we're going to keep that size. Convert to sRGB is okay. That's going to work fine. Then just going to choose Save. Then just save it out as a JPEG. Then you can put it on a thumb drive or anything like that, and then you can take it somewhere and get it printed. If you don't have a printer, of course you could, just take it to Kinko's or somewhere like that, and then print it out, and then just make sure you use a paper cutter, guillotine, and cut nicely along these edges, and then you're going to have print right up to the edges. Now, if you have a printer that prints all the way to the edges, such as one of the Epson printers, then you won't need to trim it and you won't need to use those crop marks. Now, one of the things I do suggest is print it on a slightly heavier stock, so it's going to hold up nicely when you fold it. All right, so that's how we can create a greeting card. Now, one thing to be aware of if you're using a lighter stock like I am, this is just a thick paper stock, the tent fold has a little bit of trouble standing up. So the other two are usually going to be more of a good solution. Unless you're using a stiffer kind of like it may be a light card or something for this, then it might work. So good luck in creating that. And don't forget you can download that template for free. I'll give you the link underneath. And let me know in the comments underneath if you found this tutorial useful, if you'd like to see more of these type of practical tutorials. And if you're new, welcome to the cafe. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and you won't miss any of my weekly tutorials. And until next time, I'll see you at the cafe.